Today on the 1012 Softball Show, myself, Leah, and Shelby Hilliard of Seeing Scarlett are going to recap week 1 of the Big 12, who impressed, who disappointed, and of course a conversation about Texas Tech by Shelby, who knows them well, plus a look ahead to a great week 2 slate. Brady Vernon of Softball America is here to offer his thoughts on Arizona and Arizona State, and Big 12 Pitcher of the Week from UCF, Kaitlyn Felton joins us, all today on the 1012 Softball Show. Welcome to the 1012, the podcast that covers all 16 teams in the Big 12 Conference. We are the flagship show, the 1012 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com. And of course, we're partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip Slavin. Thank you for joining us for week 2 of the 1012 Softball Show. It's Thursday. And on Thursdays, we talk softball, Big 12 softball, to be specific. And I don't do it alone because you don't want to listen to that. Joining me, as she does every week, she is the trash talk queen of the 1012 Network, the mother of the Cycloneers, Leah Nelson herself. Leah, welcome back.
Woohoo, I'm so excited. Obviously, week 1 was insane, so I'm ready to get talking about it.
We got lots to talk about. And one of the teams we're going to talk about today, Texas Tech, is the team that is nearest and dearest to the heart of the absolutely fantastic fill-in for Eric. No offense, Eric, but
I don't know.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited that you had to take the day off to call a Wednesday night game for UCF Liberty, because joining us is Shelby Hilliard of Seeing Scarlett. Shelby, welcome to the 1012 podcast.
Appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, Texas Tech. I can talk about them for days, like I said before. So let's go.
I've been meaning to have one of you two over there at Seeing Scarlett on the show for a while, and it was finally
happened. Finally had a reason to, so that helps.
You know, it helps that Texas Tech is really good at softball this year. They've been solid for a little while, but really, I think really good this year is a fair assumption of things. So let's just dive in. We've got 2 guests coming up later in the show. Brady Vernon of Softball America is going to talk about Arizona and Arizona State, 2 teams that he was able to keep an eye on this weekend. Very excited that Brady now a Big 12 alum, being an ASU alum. He's officially a longtime Big 12 fan. And UCF pitcher and this week's pitcher of the week of the Big 12, Kaitlyn Felton, going to come up as well. So very excited for both of those guests. So we'll try to keep this one from going too long. And every time I say that, we go long. So I have jinxed us. That is the curse of all curses, is to say one thing and the other to happen. And so I'm going to stop rambling and let's dive in with look back at week 1 in the Big 12. I would call it a up and down week for the conference. We had some really high highs, some teams who really impressed, some teams who disappointed, and some teams that we don't have to spend a lot of time on because they would probably prefer that we not. So let's start with this. Leah, who's the team that impressed you the most the first week of the season?
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that just last comment made me giggle.
Do you want to spend 10 minutes on your Cyclones?
No, that's why I'm laughing. It's
okay.
Like, I just think Coach Pink would be happy if we just glaze over.
It's early, you know? It's totally
right. Thank you, Shelby.
Yeah. Lots of softball to be played.
Anywho, I'm really pumped about Arizona. 5-1 on the weekend. Really impressive. Yes, they lost to Washington, but they were able to beat them in the second game, 4-0, beat Alabama 9-1 in 5 innings. They have Big 12 Player of the Week in Kaya Altmaier. So I am just super stoked with how Arizona's playing. And I almost feel a little guilty with how, I feel like I didn't respect them enough in the preseason rankings. I almost thought I should have put them at 2 or 1 for Big 12. So I'm pumped to keep watching Arizona, and they have a fun weekend coming up. So
Shelby, same question. Who impressed you the most?
I was going to say Arizona, but I actually watched a little bit of UCF last night in their game against Missouri. I feel like kind of a younger team, but they're figuring it out. They have some new pieces, and I kind of always respect how UCF goes about it in the softball landscape. So I thought that was a really impressive comeback win last night for sure. And then they got some other, I think they beat NC State this weekend as well, if I remember right, in their game.
Yeah, no, I love that you picked UCF because the biggest opponent on their schedule for the weekend was of course Georgia. They dropped that game 4-0, but 5-0 on all their other games. And of course, as you mentioned, that big Tuesday night, get down 5 runs in the first inning, come all the way back, walk-off fashion, 6-5 win over Missouri. They're playing Liberty tonight. Eric, of course, is on the call. That's why he's not here. And that is another team that at least D1 softball, I believe, has ranked. I can't remember if they're ranked in the other polls. There's like 4 polls, and I can't keep track of all of them.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's fine. It's fine. Like D1 and Softball America, those are the 2 I care about. Okay. Right. USA Today, thanks. ESPN, no, nothing to do with the absolutely wonderful people who actually care about softball at ESPN, because while the network may not, the people who push for softball there are incredible and will do an incredible job calling Clearwater this weekend, which is something we'll talk about coming up. I love that you guys picked Arizona and UCF. We're going to talk about Texas Tech in a minute, so I don't want to spend too much time on them. I will actually give Arizona State a nod here, because the fact that they got a win over Cal, who was a preseason top 25 by that USA Today poll, a Miami of Ohio team that's a really solid team, should probably make the postseason again. 3-1 weekend. They had a game get canceled due to just delays and weather. Yes, they dropped a game against Miami of Ohio. They split with them, but they are my dark horse, as I mentioned last week in the Big 12, of team that make a postseason. Got to see a lot from them. They've got a lot of new faces, but if this team can stay healthy, I'm excited to see what they do. Had 5 players finish the weekend with a batting average of 4.29 or higher. 3 players tied for a team best 5 RBIs. 7 players hit a home run. Like, the offense was balanced for that team and consistent through the weekend. So I'm excited to see what Arizona State is able to do this weekend with a few interesting matchups there. We posted my softball power rankings. I call it the 10-12 network ones, but let's just be honest, that's me. I could poll everyone and ask their opinions, but that's a lot of work, and then I have to like keep track of that stuff. And every time I do those things, by about 4 weeks in, I'm like, I'm just going to do this myself. So I just skipped the work I don't want to do and put Texas Tech atop our power rankings based off of the weekend that they had. Shelby, one of the reasons I wanted you here is because we had Texas Tech atop the rankings. 2, because I've been wanting to get you or your co-host on the show for a while. And 3, because let's talk Texas Tech. I mean, it's hard not to be impressed by this team. Obviously, you had some closer games against Kennesaw State and Marshall, but it's weekend 1. You knock off Nebraska without Kennedy in the circle. Like, I came away from this weekend going, you see what's being worked on, but you see the potential for Texas Tech and what they could be this year.
Yes, I agree. That's exactly what I saw. There's plenty they have to work on if they actually want to win a championship like they're talking about. But I thought to be able to come back in the way they did in back-to-back games, just already that early in the season, when I'm following a team or rooting for a team or covering a team, that's always like the most impressive thing. To see that early in the years that they have that about them is the way I describe it. I think I know that this team has that about them, and they're just going to have to figure out some clutch hitting situations in some of these other games. Like even Marshall, like they had bases loaded twice and just couldn't get the big hit, And so there's a couple moments in Kennesaw that was the same way. So there's plenty they got to figure out still on that side of things, and then some pitchers that they're going to need to keep kind of getting their feet wet. But overall, I mean, the way that they won those 2 games, I think they learned a lot about themselves. And obviously, Nyjah Kennedy is Nyjah Kennedy in the circle and at the plate. It's been impressive, but I thought some other people really stepped up and showed themselves and hopefully gained some confidence ahead of a really tough weekend ahead. So, yeah.
Leah, what were your thoughts on Texas Tech this weekend?
I mean, I'm so impressed. I had them at number 1 for our preseason Big 12 poll, which I think they've been on the cusp of really having breakout seasons. And now that they have Nyjah, I just think they're going to do incredible things. And the fact that Nyjah is doing so well on both sides of the ball is huge for a pitcher. I mean, usually a pitcher is just, pitching. And for her to be able to help out her team offensively, I mean, what a huge confidence booster mentally. Like, that is just going to get the whole team rallied behind her and just super excited. So I'm pumped to see what they can continue to do, and what a great, season or week 1. And I know a lot of people are kind of iffy on what Texas Tech's going to be able to do, but I think they just kind of proved it in this first week. So
yeah, like I said, the potential is there, and you knew it was going to take time. There's so many new faces from so many different places. There's questions about what was Nyjah going to look like being a 2-way player. And I mean, if that's what she can do the rest of the season.
Early results.
Early results are in, and it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
so
we'll
far,
see how
so
they
good.
adjust. We'll see how they adjust once they get some tape on her. But I mean, Jordy Ball is Jordy Ball, so.
Yeah,
she struck me out to end my season.
Yeah.
So,
so Leah's over there. She knows.
Actually,
once people get some tape on Kennedy, is that what you said? Once they,
yeah, so if they get some,
there's not a lot of tape on her. Yeah,
at the plate.
Oh yeah, okay. I was
she hit some at Stanford, but I'm saying once they get a little bit of scouting info on her, if it changes, but that power is insane. And then Texas Tech also has 2 players that didn't play in this that will be, I think, important pieces to the team if they get healthy, and I think that'll help some of the power stuff. But we'll see. And Katie Lott from Oklahoma State didn't play in this weekend, and then a returner from last season that had a breakout year as a junior, Demi Elder, didn't play this weekend either. So they're still waiting to see them debut and hoping. I think if they pinch hit in a couple of those situations over some of the slap hitters that we had out there, I think maybe we would have broken a game opener too. So that's what I'm hoping.
Okay. Again,
beyond, but we'll see.
A lot of potential for this team this season. And look, they didn't disappoint in an opening weekend. You don't have to disappoint this weekend by going to charliehustle.com and picking yourself up some absolutely incredible Big 12 gear. Okay. Our promo code now, it's Ten12 Network, TEN12, the word network. That's the promo code. Don't use the old one. It will get you nothing. The new promo code will get you 15% off all non-sale items. And they've got something for every single Big 12 fan. They've got some great Texas Tech gear. They've got great Iowa State gear. Look, the men's basketball team is awesome. Okay. You can celebrate that. Okay. You can celebrate Texas Tech softball. There's tons of great stuff there. They're going to have a bunch of sales coming up over the course of the next few months. We're going to be doing a bunch of fun things with them through March Madness. So just go and check it out. Go to charliehustle.com, find everything they've got. Absolutely incredibly comfortable vintage college sports apparel. And they love the Big 12. It's why they've got such great Big 12 stuff. You're going to want to go check it out. So charliehustle.com, promo code again, Ten12 Network, 15% off all non-sale items. Charlie Hustle Vintage, made fresh. All right, so we got to talk about who disappointed this weekend, because there's always the good and there's the bad. Shelby, I'll start with you. Which team in the Big 12 this weekend was most disappointing to you?
Oh man, you're gonna make me do this.
Yeah, let's see.
Watch what you say.
No, I wouldn't call her Iowa State disappointing. It's just a tough start. I mean, I don't know. I think the easy answer is Oklahoma State, but like they were playing tough competition. But I just think the way in which maybe that second Florida State game went was a little bit eye-opening from them. I always expect more from Oklahoma State. Maybe that's me being naive, but I think that was probably one of them. And then Baylor just not being able to win those games. I think they had a huge lead, right, on A&M, and that the pitching there is a little bit of a concern for them. So I think those were the two that I saw. Y'all watch a lot more than I do.
Leah, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I couldn't agree more, Shelby. Obviously Oklahoma State, but for me it was Baylor, and it wasn't necessarily exactly how they were playing, but it was more so like Shaylin Govan not being in the starting lineup. I mean, really tough. We talked about her being potential Big 12 player of the year. So really, really concerning on that point of, the game. So it'll be interesting. And yeah, Oklahoma State, tough, but they did play some really tough competition. So I think they're going to, well, Phillip, I feel like you have a different
we're trying to be nice here.
Yeah, we're trying to be nice.
No, I will not be nice.
I know, and exactly. You can talk about Oklahoma State, but for me, it was like really Baylor. So,
I agree on Baylor, and you kind of touched on it. The biggest concern for me is, yes, they blew a 7-1 lead against A&M. They dropped the game against Utah State, but as you mentioned, Govan made 2 plate appearances on the weekend, got a strikeout and a walk. Dariana Orme threw 3.2 innings on the weekend and had a 5.73 ERA. The 2 most important players for Baylor didn't do much, and I mean, didn't even play that much. And when they did, they didn't do that much. I thought Tria Coleman, Houston transfer, was really good. Had a really nice weekend, 7 hits and walked 3 times in 12 at bats. I mean, you'd love to get on base 10 out of 12 times when you go to the plate. But I'm a little bit worried about Baylor moving forward. They've got 2 games against Oklahoma this weekend. We'll talk about week 2 coming up in a bit. So that's going to be interesting for them. Look, for Oklahoma State, you you dominated Florida State in game 1 when Ruby Malin was in the circle. You put up 9 runs. The offense looked awesome. Oklahoma State looked like one of the best teams in the country. Yeah, Riley Candle gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th to make it 9-6, but like you won. And then you scored 9 runs in the next 3 games of the weekend. 1 run against Louisiana Tech, where the pitching is not great to start the game. 8 runs against Northern Colorado. And watching that game, it wasn't the most impressive of 8 runs. Like you had an inning where you couldn't get the offense going, and so you bunted 5 straight times successfully until their defense actually like adjusted. And then you put up no runs against Florida State again. And Riley Crandall in her first appearances for the weekend wasn't great. Like Ruby Malin was awesome. There was game 1 Oklahoma State, and then the rest of the weekend Oklahoma State, and they were 2 very different teams. And so with a huge weekend coming up, as we'll talk about, I need to see which Oklahoma State team is the real one. Is it game 1 against Florida State, or is it games 2, 3, and 4 against Louisiana Tech, Northern Colorado, and Florida State again? So I do think those are the 2 the most disappointed based off of preseason expectations. I mean, obviously Kansas and Iowa State. I'm not going to be too hard on Kansas's 1-4 weekend. They had so many opportunities to get wins against Clemson and FAU. They blew leads against Wisconsin and Ole Miss. Like I come away from Kansas weekend almost optimistic at a 1-4 start, which is weird to say, but like it was a really tough lineup for them this weekend, and I knew that going in. And the hope was like, could you come out of it with a 3-2 record or a 2-3 record and get yourself a win that you can hang your hat on? Because FAU's ranked now. Ole Miss is going to be good. I mean, Wisconsin's not much to be excited about usually, so that's not a great loss. But Clemson's like a top 25 program. Like it was a really tough lineup for them this weekend. And I thought that you don't want to have moral victories with as many seniors as they have on that roster, but there's still a lot of new faces. It's still a young team. They lost a lot of super seniors. It's a promising start for a season that I hope goes better for Kansas than last year did. All right, we've touched on week 2. Let's get to week 2. The lineup is really good. Obviously, we've got the Clearwater Invitational. We could talk about Mary Nutter. We could talk about what happens in Clearwater week 1. Clearwater Invitational in Florida on week 2, where ESPN is broadcasting softball all day for 4 straight days, is just like it is outside of the Women's College World Series. It's the best event every year as far as softball goes. Oklahoma State, UCF, both in Florida for this one. Both have great lineups. OSU's got UCLA, A&M, and Alabama, along with Kentucky and Auburn. UCF's got A&M, Clemson, and Florida State, along with Ohio State and also Auburn. Like, they both got a loaded weekend that's going to teach us a lot about both those teams. Arizona State's going to start the weekend against Oregon Thursday night. They've also got Washington this weekend. I love some of the other, like we mentioned, Baylor's got Oklahoma twice this weekend. Texas Tech has Texas on Friday and Sunday in Austin. Kansas and Iowa State both have Cal this weekend. And BYU's got Indiana on Saturday. BYU had a nice 3-0 start to their weekend, had some games canceled. Offense looked awesome, albeit against a bunch of like sub 500 or sub 200 RPI teams last year, but you put up a bunch of runs. I'll take it. I'm curious to see with a little bit better competition what they look like. So, ladies, Shelby, we'll start with you. Like, I know you're going to be watching Texas Tech versus Texas and all the other Texas Tech games this weekend, but I mean, what else do you want to try and keep an eye on?
Well, actually, I'm going on vacation for a week and I'll be out of the country, so I won't be watching any of it, if I'm being honest. But
just stats
I would normally
just get
yeah,
stats.
I'm gonna try to watch at least on the Texas Tech Texas game or stat cast it. I'll be on a plane on Friday, and then Sundays I won't. I'll just be somewhere. I don't even know where. Not in the country. It's a cruise. I just don't know where it's at.
Ooh, you don't know where you're going. You're just like, we're just gonna see where they take us.
I literally am just getting on the boat. It's somewhere in Mexico down there.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. But yeah, so I won't get to watch, but that one obviously, those 2 games because Texas Tech ties, and then I usually always just like watch every game in Clearwater I can watch. They're always great, whether it's Big 12 or otherwise. So so unfortunately I won't be watching any. I'm a little bummed, but I'm excited to watch them on replay when hopefully Texas Tech go down there and compete in Austin. I hear it's supposed to be sold out, at least the Friday game. That's what I'm hearing. Big crowd in the stands. We'll see if Nyjah pitches after Nebraska. Nobody knows if she'll start or not, but we'll find out. Something tells me she will, so I'm excited to see how they go down there and compete a little bit better than we have historically against Texas. a new era, if you will.
Right. I love that attitude.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm hoping.
Leah, look, we talked last year that like one of the reasons we think Texas Tech got unfairly left out of postseason was because they got blown out against Texas to end the season in the way that they did. And so the committee was like, we're just not going to put them in.
And the Big frickin' 10 got all those.
Oh, don't even get us started.
We were throwing a parade this weekend because we said we're Big Ten champs now because we beat 3 Big Ten teams, including Penn State, who got in over us. So we got a little revenge. And Reagan Jennings got 4 RBI in that game too, who was on that team last year that got kept out because of the Penn State team. So anyway, clearly I'm over it.
Yeah, right. Anyway.
Totally fine.
Look, there's Big 12 representation on the selection committee this year, okay? Yeah. This is a positive. This is a good, there's somebody in the room who is going to be like, nah, y'all. Big 12 is good. Okay, Big 12 is good.
I hope so.
I'm checking things in the Big 12. Looks like UCF dropped their game to Liberty tonight, 5-4. UCF in close games. Hey, no, it's all right. You got the win over Missouri. You'll be okay with it. Shelby, let me ask you this. Obviously, wins would be great. Texas Tech also has UMass and Maryland this weekend to go with their 2 games against Texas. I would expect Texas Tech to win those. I'm going to make an assumption. I'm sorry if that's a terrible thing to do.
Probably should have calmed down on my Big Ten champs rant until we played Maryland, I guess. But
I almost corrected you that they're in the ACC because that's where they should actually be, but they're not. And so I'm never going to be okay with the fact that Maryland is a Big Ten team because that don't make no sense. But if you get back from your cruise, you pull your phone up, you're going to replay those games, you're going to watch them, you're going to dive into the stats before you guys hop on and talk. What would you want to see from Texas Tech this weekend aside from just wins?
Besides wins, like I said earlier, just to compete. I don't want obviously the Texas games are the ones where I'm talking about in that end. Like if you lose those, if you win those, obviously you're competing, but if we do lose them, I just don't want to see any of that 15-0 mess. And I don't think that's going to happen. We have a whole different team, different mindset, different coaching staff, and all the things. But that's what I want to see. And then also, I want to see more from the freshman pitchers to be a little bit more consistent. Sam Lincoln, we're going to, I think, try to lean on her this year some. She has a lot of promise. Supposedly touches 70 from the left side. I haven't seen the gun on the TV yet, but that's what I've been told. And really kind of had a really impressive fall. She got injured, and they think that's a blessing in disguise because they got to put her in the weight room instead and fix some kind of instabilities they found, and like her ankles and her hips or something. They were talking. I interviewed Coach Archibald about her, or about the whole team, and she was talking about her. And she had a little bit of a shaky game. I think it was Penn State. She's the one that came in and blew that 5-run lead to Penn State that we had to come back on. And I think we need her to get some confidence this weekend. She came back in the last couple games and threw pretty well and closed those out for us. But I think I'm looking at her, and then just a little bit more consistency at the plate and trying to just kind of figure things out. It'd be awesome if we could see Katie Lott. I think Demi Elder might be a little bit farther away. But that's the kind of stuff I'll be looking at when I open the box score, to be honest, is like who played, how our younger players did, and if there was a little bit more consistency throughout the lineup and some extra base hits and things like that.
Leah, what do you want to see this weekend?
Well,
from anybody.
Some wins.
I need to see Iowa State pick it up a little bit. They're young. Obviously some transfers, and that isn't really what Iowa State has done in the past, gone to the transfer portal. So it's a little different, but the top of the lineup is doing pretty well. It's just those bottom few people that I hope gain a little bit of confidence. Kind of like what Shelby was saying, we have a lot of freshmen that are getting some playing time, and it's intimidating playing college ball. So I'm hoping just for them to have a little bit more fun and really play well and get some wins.
Fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was again, Indiana's a solid team, and you gave them a game for one of them. You battled with FIU, but splitting with FIU, losing a game in extra innings, losing to Stony Brook, to go 1-4 in that weekend, Man, that's tough. And now you go from Miami, Florida, back home out to Long Beach, California. That's a lot of travel. You got Oregon State, St. Mary's, Long Beach State, Southern Utah, and Cal. It's not a. I would argue that the lineup last weekend was tougher than this weekend's lineup. Can they look better? Like, do you look better? Do you avoid getting run ruled in a 5-inning run rule in a game against a postseason? Like Indiana's maybe a postseason team. They're not hosting. They're probably a 3 seed is a at large. Like, and run rules happen. Like games are weird. Yada yada yada. Can they just look better this weekend? Like that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, they almost looked. Yeah, they looked really uncomfortable, and there was a lot of lineup switching, people playing all different kinds of positions. And I hope they kind of just figure something out. They're able to stick to it and just feel confident and comfortable and just play the softball that I know that these girls can. But yeah, it's just first season going from Iowa to a lot warmer weather too. I'm going to blame it on the weather.
That's fine. Blame it on the weather. It's also interesting. Kansas is going to be there as well with Iowa State in Long Beach because they've got the same
friends,
right?
Yay!
Oregon State, St. Mary's.
Facts about Long Beach. I don't know if did y'all watch any of the OU Long Beach Marathon?
No.
State game?
No.
Anyway, that announcer, you're good to listen to him, Leah, is, assuming it's the same guy, hilarious.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I posted a clip on my personal Twitter. I can send it to y'all later, but hilarious. I'll watch the end of the OU Long Beach State game that went to like the 11th inning or something. And he was just cracking jokes the whole time. Great.
Perfect.
Great at what he does. So I assume he'll call some of those. That was my fun tip of the day.
Oh, good. All right. Let's see. Where are those
I have
games?
a question for y'all that actually watch a lot more than I do, the other teams.
Sure.
This might be, y'all cannot answer this if you don't want to. But if Iowa State and Houston played right now, Houston was 5-0, but their lineup of games, a little bit crazy games. And then Iowa State played a little bit better competition. Who do you think would win, honestly?
Iowa State.
I didn't watch Houston play. I know our girl, McKenna Mitchell, that transferred there went crazy. But other than that, I don't know. I just saw the scores and I was like, wow.
They won every game by, if I remember, like 1 run.
Yeah, they were all really close. Yeah.
Extra inning, 16-15 game or something crazy.
8-7 win over St. John's after giving up 2 runs late. 9-8 over New Mexico. They had to walk off. They had the 3-run home run in the 6-4 extra inning game in game 2 against New Mexico. Had to score 8 runs in the bottom of the 6th against ULM on Sunday for a 13-11 win. And then they got down 8-0 against ULM in game 2 and came back to win. It was all offense. The pitching is they have players in the circle. That's mean. I'm sorry, but
they're going to get better, hopefully.
They're going to need to.
For the sake of the conference.
For Houston, I'm going to be honest. For Houston to win games this year,
yes,
they're going to be high scoring. They're going to have to be. It is going to rely on that offense. Like they're going to have to be able to put up 8+ runs regularly in games to be getting wins.
Yeah, I think they said it was like the first 5-0 start since like 2012 or something. I mean, celebrate what you can.
Exactly.
It's
impressive.
To win 5 games. It's not easy to win 5 games.
Don't like it.
Perfect
point. You went 5-0. I don't care what we can nitpick the competition. You went 5-0. It's the most runs to start a season, like in school history and stuff. And so, like this point for Houston, you just take everything you can get as a win.
A win is a win. A win is a win.
And for the Big 12, it's like do all you can in non-conference. That's all I care about.
That RPI.
Look, based off last year's, we don't have new RPI numbers yet. Okay, I keep my resume sheets going. I've got them all updated after the first weekend. If you look at last year's numbers, that was 2 quad 3s and 3 quad 4s. Okay, so it could have been worse. It's wins, and we'll take them all.
Yeah, they weren't getting those all the time last year.
They were not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Iowa State
progress is progress.
Yeah.
But Iowa State would win, is what you're saying.
Yes. Hopefully. I'm saying that out loud because that's what I want to happen.
That's fair. We'll find out. I assume they play, but that's a while. No, maybe our series last year, Texas Tech and Iowa State, never existed. So
It's
never a given.
It's never a given.
That also kept us out of the tournament. So thanks for that.
Hey.
Yeah,
They do what they can. If they can't make the tournament, listen.
No, I don't know. It might have helped.
Did 3 wins against a quad 4 team?
It might have actually helped us to avoid the RPI.
Probably. I was going to say probably. And if Iowa State, this is the thing about Iowa State. If they're not going to make the tournament, they're going to make sure every team will also not make the tournament.
Yeah, we would have lost games we shouldn't have, I'm sure.
They love to do that to people.
Iowa State's like, oh, is non-conference done? All right, now we shall play for real.
Right. Now we're gonna ruin some
champs.
Yes. Now we're gonna ruin some people's lives.
I feel it.
Coach Pink, if you're listening to this, just text Leah and gripe at her. Okay, please still come on.
This is about the pinstripe uniforms, Coach Pink.
You're not gonna let it go. No.
All
right.
Staying out of this.
All right. Like I said, we've got 2 great interviews coming up. Our great friend Brady Vernon of Softball America. He was able to watch some Arizona State. We're going to talk about that with him. Plus, a massive shout out to UCF for what they did this past weekend that had nothing to do with their performance on the field. And of course, we have Kaitlyn Felton, Big 12 pitcher of the week for UCF. Had a great weekend coming up as well. So we're going to get to all those things. Leah, remember to follow Leah on TikTok. That's where her and her family are famous. TikTok famous. She is the most famous TikToker in the state of Iowa, as far as I know.
Wow. Oh my God. Thank you.
I mean, I added the caveat, but
do you know a lot of people in Iowa? Probably not.
You, Jamie, JSJ, a couple of Wide Right Natty Light boys, and that's about it.
Oh, I'm definitely more famous than the Wide Right Natty Light boys.
Yes. But you are the mother of Cycloneers, okay?
Thank you.
Somebody on Reddit mentioned Cyclone cheering for Iowa State because West Virginia doesn't have softball, and it's like, Cycloneers. It's a thing.
Yeah, that was a cool story.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's Leah. It's Leah. That's hard.
I know it is. I know who she is.
Okay.
Shelby,
your reputation precedes you.
Not to keep this filming recording way over time, but did you see that UCF Barstool account forgot about softball and tweeted just about baseball? And I think one of the softball girls had to quote tweet it. And I was like, this continues to keep happening. Someone needs to teach the Barstool account something.
You can't teach Barstool.
Because I really appreciate that the Texas Tech fan base has turned on the Texas Tech Barstool account. I don't really know why, other than I'm sure they just did something that always happens, but I've noticed it on the timeline. They're just killing them. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Because here's the problem. As soon as anyone who is running a Barstool account actually starts to mature enough to realize how to do a good job, they leave, and a new 18-year-old who wants to run a Barstool account, which is all you need to know to describe that person, takes over said Barstool account, and you have to start all over again. It's like having to, it's like the is it 50 First Dates where she wakes up every day not remembering who she is, and so
Correct.
Adam Sandler has to teach her from scratch every day and make her fall in love with him. That's teaching people who run Barstool accounts how to not be. Yeah. So, Shelby, plug the show because you guys love the work that you do. Seriously.
Oh, appreciate it. If you want to follow us, we're at @SeeingScarlett_ on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube. All of our shows are pretty much on YouTube. There's an audio version out there somewhere. People listen to it, but it's much more fun on YouTube because we got clips and all the things. Just Seeing Scarlett on the YouTube page. It's obviously Texas Tech sports, but if your favorite team is playing us, then we're going to talk about your team and we might talk a little shit about them, but it's fun. You can come and hang out and have a good time. We talk about all the sports, including softball. Our show is very heavy softball right now for obvious reasons. So come out and enjoy it. We just had a show last night. It's on YouTube now.
You cover all the Texas Tech sports, but where you guys shine is making sure that the Texas Tech women's sports get their due.
Yep.
And this is not a knock. I love my boys, T and Takes. Okay, they do a great job covering everybody. I just like you guys. You two do such a great job covering and ensuring that the women's sports over Texas Tech get their due coverage. And that's why people have noticed you. That's why people follow you, because you guys love it. And look, anybody who's going to spend a bunch of time this time of year covering softball, I'm going to appreciate. So,
we enjoy it. It's fun. They deserve it. It's easy to do. I like watching sports, so it's not that hard. It is wild that no one else has been doing it, so that's why we exist. But so if you enjoy those sports, we probably are the only place Texas Tech media-wise that you'll find it every week. So come hang out.
There you go. All right. We got 2 great guests coming up. We will be back, I think, on Monday. We'll see. We should be talking basketball and what other random things I want to rant about. And then, of course, we cover softball on Thursday, so we'll be back next Thursday to recap the weekend that was, talk about the weekend that will be. Enjoy our interviews. We'll talk to y'all later. Season's here. First weekend is in the books, as we've talked about, and very excited to have back on the show for the first time in a while. Too long, our good friend Brady Vernon from Softball America. Brady, welcome back to the 2-12, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Brady, I think this is the first time we've had you on since, Softball America, On3 partnered up. Like, you guys just keeps getting bigger and bigger and growing more and more.
Yes, definitely with that move. I think even more important, I think this is the first time on when you can count me as a Big 12 alum, now that ASU is officially over.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been really fun over there. It's been a great kind of partnership. I think we're kind of like the first one really diving into a star-based ranking with recruits, and that's very helpful over there. And just kind of joining together on that, and that's been a really big push for us, even away from just college softball, which we kind of just focus on mostly. But yeah, it's been really good, and just kind of seeing the sport continue to grow and take off.
Props to On3, and everyone does things a little bit differently, but I do want to give them props for continuing to grow from a recruiting standpoint on coverage of like women's sports, women's basketball, softball, because I think it's one of those things that there wasn't enough investment into it, which was understandable. There wasn't a lot of money in it. And so for a recruiting site to be able to start investing in all the other sports, because I think there is enough of an interest in other sports, softball, women's basketball, and other women's sports, of saying like, we want to understand recruiting better. We want to understand who these players are. And I think it has had such a big impact on recruiting rankings. We can debate the validity and the accuracy and the fairness of those things in football and basketball all day. But there is upside to those things in those sports that I think have helped everyone. And so to have those kinds of resources in other sports that don't have where you don't have giant recruiting staffs, it is harder to go out and see everybody and find those diamonds in the rough, and your budget has a major impact on where you can go and who you can see. Having resources like what you guys are doing and what they're also doing on On3 for women's basketball to kind of help pick through some of that, I think is big and is another just asset for a growing sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like been kind of our biggest thing too, is like there are various recruiting sites where they just rank a lot of girls, whether it be top 100, top 300, but we have like kind of a group of former coaches that really help, and we get feedback from the current collegiate coaches. And I think that's so big. It's like there are so many people that want to watch the game and stuff. And some people believe that I do the recruiting rankings. I'm like, I do not watch enough of these girls. I just want to promote my website and see what's fair. And I think that's the right thing. I don't think I'm the best one to evaluate them, and we want to make sure that's done properly. And I think that's been a big thing for us, and why we kind of came together with On3 too.
Love it. Speaking of growing the sport, I want to your thoughts on. I know you've posted on Twitter as well, but shout out to UCF, because the fact that they broadcast the games this weekend that did not include UCF when the other teams that were there at their tournament were playing is such a huge thing, and so rare for us to see at a non-true neutral site event that's got coverage from an ESPN or a Flow softball. Y'all, I know how you feel about Flow. I get it. We're not going to get into that right now. But for UCF to actually broadcast the other games and provide access to those teams and access to softball fans is so big. I think it's huge. I think it's great they did that. That is how you as an athletic department at a university show an investment in the sport, when you're actually providing access to these games. Because trust me, it's frustrating this weekend when there were, I think it was Sunday morning and Saturday morning, there's like multiple Big 12 games going on, and you're just having to follow the stats page because there's no broadcast of them anywhere. And so shout out to UCF for actually putting the time and the investment to get those games broadcast, even when UCF wasn't one of the teams playing.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's something that we face a lot in softball, and like obviously there's people needed, there's money investment into it, like there's all these other things to go into. But like even a few years ago, like I personally went to like Duke, Oklahoma State, in Tempe, and that had no stream, and I was frustrated because it's a huge journalism school. There is the capabilities to do so, and I'm sure that there are two kids who would love to have broadcasted a top 10 softball matchup, and the fact that the only video was me streaming on Facebook Live and my phone overheating was kind of a big thing. And so it's just really nice to see. It was really nice to see Tony Baldwin's comments, the Georgia head coach, about it, and just it's the little things like that that I think really, like, those are the things we need to start making them as a bigger part of our sport.
Plus, the benefit to UCF also is if I know that my team's going to get a shot to be available on ESPN Plus or some streaming platform my fans can watch, I'm more likely to come to your event.
Right.
Like that's a big thing for UCF to try to sell to. Hey, we want to have more teams that are marquee, teams that we want to come here. If you come here, your fans are going to get to see it. Mm-hmm. Like so it's a selling point for UCF as well, which you would think would be like, hey, this is good for us trying to sell this because there's just that many more eyeballs on that many more things focused on us. So it's a big thing. Props to UCF, props to the Georgia head coach, as you mentioned, for complimenting UCF on doing that, them posting that. So just that was big. Brady, the reason we actually have you here today, as you mentioned, Big 12 legend Brady Vernon here, talk a little about two of the Big 12's newest additions, Arizona and Arizona State, who you got to watch a little bit of in person this weekend. Let's start with your your school, Arizona State, who I thought had an impressive weekend. Obviously, one of their games against Minnesota canceled due to delays. And of course, they did drop one game there against Miami of Ohio, but they split with Miami of Ohio and got a win over Cal, who was USA Today has a preseason top 25 team. This is an Arizona State team I've kind of had as my, I'm going to say dark horse postseason Big 12 team, not conference title contender, but a team that I see staying healthy, which is something they struggle with the last 2 years, is a team that can make the postseason. I think this was a fantastic opening weekend performance for them to kind of prove me right.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing with them is, when Megan Bartlett took this job over when Trish Ford left, it was going to be an uphill climb. It was going to take a while to rebuild what was there. And the biggest takeaway for myself is just how young that team is. When they played Cal, they had a freshman starting in the circle, and then third base, shortstop, and second were all true freshmen. And even overall, there's only like 3 seniors on the whole roster, and the juniors that are playing are mostly inexperienced girls. And so, Bartlett was very excited about this group and just overall talent. She didn't know if they were all going to play right away, but this kind of talk about how crazy it is. I mean, they're starting shortstop Grayson Molitar was not even committed to Arizona State until last fall, and then she early enrolled and is now starting as a 17-year-old there. And so obviously there's going to be big growing pains and stuff, but this first weekend was really good. And just as you kind of talked about, like last year they lost their top 2 pitchers after week 1, and so it was just it was a struggle. And then they had Kenzie Brown back, who had a really good week in their first week back from injury, and then they have the 2 freshmen. One of them was a kind of 4-star coming in, Cambry Krieger. She had some good moments. She got the start against Cal. But that's my biggest thing is like, they have nothing to lose. Tiara Ho-Ching, who's starting over at second base, like she's just kind of a firecracker. She just plays the sport because she loves it. And, it's things like that. Or like even Leon Hoche, who came off the bench and hit the 2-run home run, who ended up beating Cal and stuff. Like those are little things that like these are building blocks to what Megan Bartlett wants to be in her program, because you can only do so much with the transfer portal. And they've hit on some kids like Kelsey Hall and Tanya Wendell, but you're seeing the pieces wanting to be like Arizona State Sun Devils, and I think that's the biggest part of it is like even if they weren't to make the postseason, just having a winning record or having those pieces continually build and get better and just can rely on, because as I said, this is a young team, and so they're going to return a lot of it next year as well.
Yeah, and look, you mentioned not many upperclassmen. Obviously, senior Kenzie Brown pitchers. You mentioned a great opening weekend, 10.2 innings of action, struck out 19, gave up just 4 hits, 2 runs, no walks. Like she was really good this weekend for this team. And I as I finish up my weekend recap article, which is taking me forever to do because I have 3 kids, full-time job, other things. And Super Bowl was, I should have worked on it that Sunday night, but so be it. Some interesting pitching performances from across the Big 12 have kind of stood out to me. And she was definitely one of them look, if she can kind of carry a bit of a load for Arizona State and continue to perform the way that she did this weekend, that and what was to me a very balanced offensive attack for Arizona State this weekend. You had 3 players lead with 5 RBIs. You had 9 different players hit a home run this weekend. Like it was a pretty balanced offensive attack. If you can sustain that moving forward and stay healthy, if you've got a young team that can continue to develop, like I do think this could be a true breakout season for Coach Bartlett and her Sun Devils.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, a lot of people that I know just because I've covered ASU softball starting in 2018 as a student journalist, and so I have a lot of people asking a lot of questions, and it's something that you got to take what it is, and I think she's doing as good as she can do. I mean, we've kind of seen these transfer exoditis, Oregon's probably the biggest example after Mike White left, but it just takes time. And so, especially at the transfer portal, sometimes it makes it easier, sometimes it makes it harder. But definitely from this first weekend, there's a lot to build on. And they play Oregon on Thursday, which should be a really good test for them and just someone who they're a little bit familiar with as well.
Yeah, Oregon on Thursday and then Washington on Saturday. Another 2 more opportunities for some good wins coming up this week. Let's look at the other team you got an eye on. That's Arizona, who I came away with. I'm sitting here recording this on Monday. This will come out on Thursday, but on Monday, and I'm going back and forth between Texas Tech and Arizona and who I think kind of won the week for the Big 12. And I can't quite decide between those two. We're going to be splitting hairs, but I came away very impressed by Arizona, especially in that 5-inning run rule over Alabama, who is a solid team. This is the Arizona that we kind of wondered coming into the season, and that we talked about on the show last week of, everyone's talking about Texas Tech, everyone's talking about Oklahoma State. Arizona, to me, the way they looked, this is I don't even want to say dark horse because they were a top 3 preseason team, but this is a team that really could win the Big 12 conference this year.
Yeah, no, totally. Obviously, they played really well. They dropped 1 game to Washington, but that is what it is. I think so many people freak out when a team loses 1 game, and I'm like, we're in the point of softball where that's not a big deal, especially early on in the season when coaches are trying stuff, and that's exactly what Arizona's doing. Arizona's going to hit. Arizona has a really good defense. Taylor Beal is an underrated name. She's really good at shortstop. I arguably think Reagan Shockey might be the best defensive center fielder in the game now after Jada Colvin's departure. She's just very talented the way she reads balls. She has a really strong arm despite how little she might look out there. And then she's so good offensively. She's that hard dirt, the slap. Dakota Kennedy's an All-American candidate in left field. Kaya Altemeyer has really come together. That's someone who wasn't even supposed to be in the Arizona program, but kind of she decommitted from where she was and ended up there. But they're going to hit. The biggest piece is what they're going to do pitching wise, and they have 8 options, which is a really, really big pitching staff. And right now they are trying things. The overall numbers don't look great from this weekend. They got into a little bit of tussles with Michigan State and Western Michigan. But when it mattered the most, they kind of turned to Miranda Stoddard, who, this year compared to last year, she had an actual off season. She wasn't a late addition. It kind of looks like the ace of this team. And then they also have redshirt freshman Ryan Maddox, who, very short, but has a lot of fire in her rise ball, a lot of off speed coming to the left side. And so I know those two might carry a lot of innings, but they're going to have a lot of different roles. They have Devin Netz back in the circle. She brings a lot of energy. She's been playing really good first base. She had a 3-run home run game, but if they can pitch consistently, that's going to be their biggest thing. And I think it's hard to see them not at least doing a lot better than they were last year when they were relying on 2 arms, now that they have 8 available to them. And it just lets them work different matchups and stuff. And we're going to see a lot of that kind of committee throughout the whole season, and especially in Big 12 play. Yeah,
Iowa State transfer Saya Swain, nice first opening weekend as a member of the Arizona Wildcats as well. 1.91 ERA, 7.1 innings pitched, giving up 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. I think she had a solid game. And then, you mentioned Nets coming back. okay in the circle, but her bat was huge. I mean, led the team with 10 RBI, which is ridiculous in an opening weekend. 3 home runs. You mentioned the 3-run home run. She had 3 home runs, 3 more doubles. Like she was fantastic for Arizona on offense this weekend. And so if she can pick up her game in the circle a little bit more, I mean, we've talked about two-way stars. Like she is a legitimate threat for Arizona if she can give them some solid innings in the circle and her bat continues to perform the way that it did this opening weekend.
Yeah, and yeah, she gave up a handful of home runs, but I think that's the thing is that they wanted to give her innings just because like it's been a whole year since she pitched. She didn't play at all last year. And you really saw that on Sunday. You know, she threw a complete game shutout of Washington and kind of like a revenge game for them. And she's even someone where I think this year, like if they can get other people to start, I think she's going to be like an electric closer for them. And she has that closer energy that we see almost like in baseball and stuff. Like she's just going to be like fiery. And they even talked about possibly using like Swain in that kind of spot too, just because she has a lot of swing and miss stuff, and that's just going to be hard for any team to just pick up in later innings. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that they can figure it out in the circle and just the way they play, like at the plate and in the field. Like I think that they can be a really, really strong team, and I know a lot of people just kind of see them as a potential like Oklahoma City team. And you know, I think the biggest thing too is like talking to Kaitlyn Lowe before the season is like, since she took over, like they haven't had necessarily a good regular season from start to finish. They've had a lot of ups and downs. They had the year where they missed the postseason. I mean, they barely got into the tournament when they went to Oklahoma City. And so if they can have the really good regular season and make it easier on them by hosting a regional, possibly hosting a super regional, like that's where I kind of think the sky's the limit for the Wildcats.
This weekend coming up, obviously they had the run rule win over Alabama, got a win over Washington as well. At that loss to Washington, that's not when the resumes and the RPI start coming out, like it's not going to be a loss that hurts them in any way, shape, or form. Some sneaky potential good games from a resume standpoint. A couple games against Cal State Fullerton, a couple games against South Alabama. Neither one of those are going to be, I would say, quad 1 wins. But if those are two teams that look similar to what they did last year, those are two teams that are going to be solid pieces on the resume come the end of the season.
Yeah, like it's nothing that's gonna like hurt them. I mean, like Fullerton, like they beat San Diego State, who like kept up with Oklahoma this week. Like those teams are always difficult. Like it's just the way they play. They usually pitch well. It is a lot different Fullerton team than last year that like made the tournament and stuff. But they're gonna be fine. And like I know that the following weekend is where it gets really tough when they host Texas, and we're gonna see kind of like what the high level looks like, because I think them and Alabama is pretty like the same tier. But Texas, like that's where you know, like, are we for real? Can we really do this? Like you're gonna take on like a census top 2 team.
We talked about this a bit last week, and I want to wrap on this on Arizona for you. I kind of mentioned, I think Arizona has a real shot. If we're sitting here right now projecting who's going to win the Big 12, I mean, I would take OSU or Texas Tech, but looking at Arizona's schedule in Big 12 play, open conference play with back-to-back home series against UCF and Utah, you're on the road at Arizona State, so not going far. At Provo, not going far. You get Oklahoma State at home. You get Texas Tech at home. You avoid Baylor. Your longest road trips in conference play are to Lawrence and to Houston, Texas. Like the schedule set up for Arizona absolutely beautifully this year, right? With two well, I'm going to use air quotes, road trips to Texas and to Kansas. Everything else is at home or nearby. I mean, you're going to Utah, you're staying in state. It's not crazy to me to sit here and say, like, I'm not going to pick Arizona, but I'm not going to be shocked if they're Big 12 champs at the end of the regular season.
Yes. I think it goes into the point that, getting both Tech and Oklahoma State at home is a big thing. But I think something that might be under considered is, if you're going to win those series, you're going to have to beat Nyjah Kennedy and you're going to have to beat Ruby Malin. Well, Arizona's seen plenty of both pitchers. The juniors have both come from teams that were in the Pac-12. They have familiarity with them. So they know them a lot, and they have the lineup to do it. It's just, are they able to pitch well enough that it matters? And because I just don't see them getting into crazy run games and winning those against those caliber. But, if you can win one of those games in each series and then kind of steal that second game, like the the middle of the series, usually against like the second pitcher. Like it sure can be done. And like you don't necessarily have to win both series, but you might have to just, win one and at least kind of hope that the other one kind of loses along the way. And like even if they kind of take out each other, but it's certainly possible. And I think it really just like it lines up well for Arizona to do so, as you kind of mentioned.
Brady, man, this is not the last time you'll be on the show this season. Always happy to have you on. I'm still dad. We were supposed to do our off-season or transfer portal conversation, and the season, off-season is the off-season. It is what it is. But thrilled to have you back on the show. Do me a favor, remind everybody where they can find all the great work you do covering college softball.
Well, you can find me on my personal like X, Twitter, whatever it's called nowadays, at just Brady Vernon. And then Softball America is just Softball America, but with one L. Don't ask me why. And then everything can be found on our website at on3.com/softball. Softballamerica.com will also take you there as well. But yeah, we have recruiting rankings, we have spotlights, we have a ton of like college coverage. When Athletes Unlimited League starts in May and June, we'll have coverage for that. So we really cover the game from top to bottom. And then we have our podcast network as well. That's mostly on our YouTuber lives. But yeah, I mean, we're always in tune. We usually have a lot of content coming to you daily and just daily updates during the weekend as well.
She's the reigning Big 12 pitcher of the week after a very impressive performance to start the season. She's already, I don't know if I embarrassed her by saying that or what, but we're going to, you should be very proud of yourself for it. She is UCF pitcher Kaitlyn Felton. Kaitlyn, welcome to the 1012.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, you deserve your props. You had a very, very good start to the season, helped your team off to a nice opening weekend. But I have to ask, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about your opening weekend?
It was very exciting. I love playing with this group of girls. They're so disciplined. They love to win. We got a pretty young group, so they just like to go out there and compete. And they make me feel young again, even though I've been around the block a few times. And just getting that award, it just means so much because this program has done so much for me, and to be able to give back to it in that way, it's big. That's
awesome. Well, as you mentioned, you've been around for a little while. You're a senior this year. You were here with, so many players that we've known and that are gone now. Mancha and Woodall. What is the biggest difference to you between this year's team and the teams the last few years?
This team just kind of goes out onto the field every day, just like wanting to play. I think that's a big thing. We just love to compete and get after it. This team's super resilient, physically and mentally. And I just think going out there every day and even practice and playing like it's going to be your last day playing this season, it's really exciting to play with.
I mean, you say last day playing. I mean, this is your last season of softball as a senior. There's no more COVID super senior stuff going on. So, I mean, has that started to set in yet, or are you far enough away from the end of the season that you haven't had to think about it too much?
I haven't really thought about the end a lot, but I definitely approach every day where it's like, I'm not going to be like last night, I'm not going to be able to play Liberty again after this, most likely. So I just try and take it day by day, but I haven't really thought much about it being over quite yet.
It's okay. When that starts to set in, I've talked to a lot of softball seniors on this show, and they all kind of say the same thing of, as it gets closer, you really start to feel those emotions and feel the incoming, but at the same time, it offers you a lot of perspective on really enjoying every single moment of it. So it sounds like that's what you're doing as you approach each day and each game is really appreciating every opportunity you have left to play. And so that's the right mindset, and you're gonna be glad that you did when the end finally comes. What did you spend the most time this offseason focusing on to help you continue to get ready for this season?
I would just say mainly mental stuff. I mean, Coach Bear has helped me out with my confidence when it comes to like my physical abilities. And I just think I was kind of stopping myself the past few years. So mentally, and I think it being my senior year, it was a lot easier to be like, I'm never going to get this chance again. So I really just got to go out there and stop getting in my own way.
That's awesome. Okay. So you kind of mentioned the coaching aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You've got kind of two pitching coaches in Coach Bear and Coach Shannon Shale. What's that like for you? What's that relationship like you have with both of those? And what's it like having, I don't know, two different voices in your ear?
It's great. Coach Bear, I love when she's in my bullpens. I've learned so much from her throughout my career. I think she's one of the smartest coaches I've ever had the pleasure of working with. She just knows the game inside and out, and like the way she can pitch matchups and stuff like that, it's crazy. And then Shannon Sale, I mean, she's a two-time national champion, so who wouldn't want to learn from that? And she's just got energy. She always knows how to make you feel good about yourself. You guys probably are going to catch her a few times on camera during the season doing some crazy things in the bullpen. And she just knows how to like keep the mood up, but also give you like that great advice and from what she's learned throughout her career.
Okay, good. So we need to tell the marketing team, like, make sure and get some shots of Coach Sale and her antics this season. And,
definitely. It doesn't take much to catch them. She does quite often.
Now I'm going to be watching for it. I'm going to see it. You know, it's one of those things you're like, have you seen this thing yet? No. And now you're going to see it everywhere. So I'll be keeping an eye out. Awesome. Look, our good friend Eric Lopez is co-host here on the show on most days. So I have to ask you this. He told me, because I asked him, what are some things I should know about Kaitlyn before we get her on the show? And he said, quote, she wears her passion on her sleeves when she plays. Do you feel like that's a fair description of you?
I feel like it's pretty fair, yeah. I try to play with passion, not emotion. I mean, Coach Bear has taught us that emotion is temporary, but passion is forever. So I just try and be consistent out there with my team, but then when exciting things happen for them, I'm going to get excited for them.
Good. Speaking of Eric, what's it like having him call your games?
Oh, I love it. He's so funny too. He's like a stat machine. He knows everything. I think he knows me better than I know myself. So sometimes when I'm watching film post game, I'll just like hear things and I'm like, I didn't even know that. Like last night, he told me it was, I think, my 70th appearance. And I was like, I'm glad Coach Bear has put me in 70 times. So I had no clue that was even a milestone coming up. But he's a great guy. He's a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, we love Eric. We're thrilled to have him here on the show. I mean, he loves UCF softball. Let me just say, like he loves softball. Obviously, does a great job within the circle, but he loves UCF softball, and you can hear in his voice when he talks about it, and when he talks about you and your team and all of you and Coach Bear. So it's we love having him, and I think UCF's lucky to have him as well.
Yeah, we definitely are. He's been around this program for a long time.
All right, I got a few quick ones we're going to wrap up on here for you, because I know you guys have you played the last 2 days in a row. You've got a trip to Clearwater this weekend for some really, really big and exciting matchups. I'm going to have Clearwater is just, that's what I need to like 8 TVs up so I can just be watching everything at the same time. But okay, what is your walk-up song?
Oh, it's an El Alfa song. It's Siéntate en ese dedo. It's in Spanish, so a lot of people probably won't know it, but I love El Alfa.
Okay, I'm gonna go look that one up. I'm sorry, I'm old. I don't know it, but that's okay. You know, I learn new things. That's why it's fun talking to people significantly younger than me. Peanut butter and jelly of choice.
Probably strawberry.
Strawberry, good choice. Okay. Well, we got a lot of blackberry in my house, so the strawberry is solid. We have blackberries that grow behind the house. Blackberry jelly?
No, I've never.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. No, we have them grow behind our house. So, my neighbor picks them and makes jelly. No, it's fantastic. Blackberry jelly is great. What is your game day ritual?
I listen to the same playlist before every single game. I'm not a super superstitious person, but I do switch my socks. But other than that, I most likely have a class in the morning and I'm just trying to get to the field on time. And then I listen to the same music.
Okay. Would you rather throw a perfect game or hit a walk-off home run?
I think if Coach Bear put me into hit and I hit a walk-off home run, I think that would probably top the perfect game, because I don't know what situation. But yeah, probably the home run.
Okay. All right, last one. Best trash talk anyone has ever thrown at you?
Ooh, I don't think I've gotten a lot.
Okay.
I think someone just got really excited when I walked them one time, but they didn't say anything, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. Kaitlyn, You were awesome. I love your energy. If this is the energy you have when you're in the circle that you had here on the show, then I can see why you're so good and why you won Big 12 Pitcher of the Week this week. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, and good luck to you and your girls in Clearwater this weekend.
Thank you so much.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.